Well, happy Thursday, winners. I hope everyone is doing well. 2020 is your year. Very special recording today coming at you guys. I've got live here on the air with me. I've got George. I've got George's friend who's a longtime crypto developer of about 8 years in the space, who's now working very closely with the Theta team and actually very responsible for a lot of what George is going to be sharing with you guys today with GPooL. His name is D. As you guys know, we only use first names around here. If it's a real name, that's fine. If it's not, that's fine. So we're going to be talking with D today. And guys, I'm kind of, technology from this side of it on the developer side is not really my forte, but I am learning a little bit at a time through George. It's not my aspiration to become a developer or a coder, although I have a ton of respect for those guys, and I think that's our future on planet Earth. But George is a little bit more into that space. And so, guys, I'll be here and I'll ask a question or two, but mostly I've set this up for George to kind of come in here and make an introduction to everybody. I will tell you that my personal Theta tokens, which is a pretty large position, is currently delegated through GPooL, and it was a very easy process. Thank you, George, for putting together a video on that. And so anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to turn this over to George. George, thank you for being here, and as well, Dee. Also, thank you for being here, guys. Good morning.
Thank you, Jay. It's great to be here, and thank you, Dee, for joining us. I appreciate absolutely. That a lot. And so, today we're really going to just kind of cover Theta. You have a much broader background on the project than I do, and when we've talked in the past, I've been like, wow, that's really exciting information, and it kind of got me stoked, going further. So, if you want to share a little bit of your background, anything that you might want people to know, go ahead and share, and then we'll kind of move on to the GPooL project.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you both for having me here today. So a quick, more broad summary of my background, because we could be here for a while. I got started in crypto 2012, and I won't tell you my classic story of the moment I became awoken, once I had read and really discovered what this space was trying to accomplish. But needless to say, I dropped everything and transitioned as quickly as possible. So I wanted to absorb as much information as I could in this space, just because of the vision that I could see this becoming. I was around when BBS's bulletin board services transitioned to the internet, and when I saw that happen, I was just a bit too young to capitalize on helping the movement. And this one, I think, is probably going to be, well, it's going to be at least to that magnitude, if not more. So I really had to learn as much as I could. So I started on different code bases, from Bitcoin code base to Monero code base. And I won't drop a bunch of names, but anyways, a bunch of different code bases and projects I just soaked up like a sponge, and have been helping out from the community aspect for that whole stretch of time. Sat on some boards, worked from behind the scenes, worked from the community end of things. So then I came upon Theta, and man, that light bulb, I couldn't, it was just that moment that I had, and I was like, this is what this space has been needing. On top of all of that, the timing is just so critical. Not even to make another reference to the .com situation, but it was about timing, and that's what we're going to see here with crypto. Is I feel like we're right on that precipice. And if Theta would have came along 2 years earlier, like I've seen some other great ideas, and some great ideas, poor execution, but some great ideas with good execution, and timing just wasn't there for mass adoption. But man, I just think that this is like the trifecta here. I think we got, I know we've got a team that can pull this off, and I think that their timing is right, and I think the use case is just, it's absolutely, it's you can't compare it. So yeah, that's when I had decided to support the project. I then evaluated where I potentially thought the first community interjection was necessary, and once the 2 coin system was out with as we all got published information, I then started to see where we were heading, and what we were going to need was a pooling service, and a safe one at that, because I've seen a lot of these things ran through telegrams or through Slacks, Discords, and that's just, while it's great and it's great community service, there's just way too much scammers out there. It needed a platform, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. A place to land, a real place to land, instead of something that may or may not, because there are a lot of scammers out there that people do fall for, and you don't know who's real.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the unfortunate double-edged sword in crypto, is that some of the best guys that I've ever worked with in crypto, I don't know their name, I don't know where they live. I you know what I mean? But I would trust them with my dog, my family, you know what I mean? Like, so I guess I'm saying that, you need to have a physical presence. You need to have a community conglomeration that's built out properly. I mean, we really took our time with security, and I don't know if we made it clear or not on the about page, but that system that we designed there, that's patent pending, and it's not because we want to license it. It's further from the truth. We wanted to patent pend it because we wanted to make sure a bank didn't come along, or somebody come along and try to claim it as their own model, and us then have to either pay them licensure or change the direction that we had it. But the system that we built here we have luxury that even an exchange does not have when it comes to security and the potential that what direction you can take it in. With an exchange, they have to have what's called a hot wallet, where they have a functioning float of liquidity that they can distribute for withdrawals. And on the pool, we don't have to have that hot wallet, so we can keep them all cold storage. As you might know, Coinbase has 98% of their supply cold storage, and it's got to be proper cold storage. While commercially available hardware wallets are great for the advanced crypto, yes, there's a Coinbase, yeah. So they go over what they have in cold storage, and they do, from what I know, I've never been in their establishment, but they do cold storage proper. I don't want to get too in depth with technicalities, but let's just put it this way: it's a lot more advanced than just a hardware wallet. Just because we won't get into how modern CPUs are even vulnerable and so on and so forth. But anyways, it's quite advanced. Let's just put it that way. I guess I could, if I could paint a vision for the viewers looking at this diagram, as we go to cold storage, that is not stored on a computer. That is actually what could be considered as being on paper, and even more so, it's only created when we need it to be created through the mnemonic. So the mnemonic is all that exists, and not in a physical way to where it could be burnt or seized. We have redundancies of redundancies to make sure, and the coins aren't, the private keys are not physically sat anywhere in existence until they need to be. So that's one of the benefits to crypto that you can leverage, is that you can have it pretty much in thin air until you need it to be, by memorizing the 24-word mnemonic. So we have a board that has it. So we have those redundancies built in, and it doesn't live on any physical device. So
you know what? Let's back up just a little bit. And how about if you talk about GPooL? Some people listening to this may not have any clue. I mean, I've been talking about it for a while, posted some things, but some people may be like, what are they talking about? What is GPooL, and why would I use it? And how does it work with Theta?
Sure, yeah. So we were excited because we were able to offer both a custodial and a non-custodial path. We would love for it to be all completely non-custodial. What that means is that the users can hold the coins, their control, in their wallet and earn rewards, just like if they were running their own Guardian node. Rewards straight on the blockchain. So that's what's referred to as a non-custodial, where we don't hold custodian of your coins or the private keys. Then there's also the non-custodial. So Theta, Theta Labs, who writes the code for Theta right now, they have a minimum threshold of 10,000 coins. So if you have the 10,000 coins, we can then enter into, and I can go more into depth of how we enter into delegation here in a sec. But the non-custodial is on chain, and you hold it in your wallet. But the custodial, you move on to GPooL in a sense. But once again, it goes to those cold storage wallets. It's not even going onto the website. So someone could come in and all they're going to get is basically the HR department. They're going to get usernames and email addresses.
Yeah.
That's it. So there is no coins held physically by a device connected to the internet.
Okay, great. So what you're really, well, why did you start GPooL? Well, you may have gone over that a little bit, because there really was a place needed to land, because right now I have the Guardian Monitor.io.
Yes.
By the way, do you know who did this? Because I know when we were part of the beta program, this kind of evolved, and it wasn't out of Theta.
Yeah, that's so that's QE, another gentleman from the community, and we're actually working with him as far as funding. So if you take a look, because we don't take fees or anything, and I'm sure we could get into that more, but we have a Patreon, and on that Patreon it has just 3 tiers, and once you move in from the $5 tier to the $10 tier, you're then helping us collect some funds to redistribute to some of the other community projects. And this one we found was such an essential piece that it's our first one that we're liking, that we're supporting. And then there's a $20 tier, and that helps build out like an app for GPooL and so on and so forth. We have a lot of different visions of where we would like to take it. I could probably bore you for hours of things I have planned for Theta if we can indeed, fund
get it funded.
So yes.
Yeah, because right now you guys are the #1 Guardian node, holding more than twice the next person down.
Yes, which is great to see. And the thing, when you see that number, you got to think centralization, and that's what I always think whenever I see that number. How centralized is Theta because of the pool being around? Because, not saying that I would ever take it down, but we do have some solutions that we have been working on while we worked on the design of the pool to help with decentralizing it if the pool were ever to get into a territory where they had a majority. So Guardian nodes, basically each Guardian node has, their vote. They get paid proportionally to how much they stake, but their vote is counted as a Guardian node. So, GPooL, we could split that up and spin up a bunch of Guardian nodes, but to be honest with you, that's not the best practice for a decentralized network. So that's why we hold them in one. And as you can see, I believe we were past 1,000 Guardian nodes the last I looked. And there are some that are needing some assistance in the community. We're talking about how we could build a platform for outreach, because we're seeing some instability with some of them, not in the scary sense, but just to help maximize their rewards as well. So we potentially have, I believe, 3.2% of this total staked, and there's over 1,000 Guardians. So our vote is one of 1,000. Right now. So it's something that we are continuously keeping our eye on, because the pool was great. in a sense that people are going to pool their funds together. It's inevitable. And, you know, but the big thing is A, we got to make sure that the pool's done safely and properly. B, we need to make sure that we're an advocate for decentralization. And C, the big thing is that these participants that we help have a very important role in a network, because we can run a Guardian if we have 10,000 or 10 million. So their important asset to the security of the network, which is why they earn the rewards, is voting on the protocol. So I don't want to get too far down, and if you don't want to, because that's a pretty long, you know, rabbit hole, but the protocol is going to need to be voted on here. And you know, we need to make sure that it's not just the tech people and the people that can see things one way. We need people that might not have a stable internet. We need people that, you know, more artistic, you know, and, you know, the pool is going to help bring protocol votes to such a mass amount of people that potentially might never have been able to cast their vote a different way. And, you know, having every single Theta vote is a very important thing. And you got to make sure that they have skin in the game to vote. And that's by delegation or running a Guardian node. So we wanted to make sure that people are going to have their chance to vote. So the service, you know, the platform GPooL is building the system out in collaboration with Theta Labs, you know, actively. So we're going to be on the front edge, and we're going to be ready for that first vote, you know.
And you'll tell us when they're going to release that part of it too.
absolutely. And you know, that's part of the discussion actually right now. There's a small community group of us that have gotten together over the years. Well, yeah, 2 years I think is when, you know, shoot, that's been a long time, huh? But so great to see, you know, all the development that's gone on. So anyways, we have a smaller group of community members that were of the original first 100 Guardian on testnet and so on and so forth. And we were just talking yesterday about the voting and platforms and how, you know, lobbying and so on will go for votes, education on both sides of the argument, and making sure that the vote is a dynamic vote, meaning that you can switch it. It's not a one-time vote, and the importance of seeing that vote on a constant basis. You know, sometimes people don't get motivated to vote until they see that a decision is going to go the opposite direction that they would like it to go. So if we have the vote just happen over a course of a few hours, there really won't be enough time to react and properly educate. So we're trying to have input that the vote potentially should be cast and be able to be changed, you know, maybe throughout the whole month, or, you know, however long they'll decide is a proper length of time.
Okay, and can you tell, because some people that are listening to this will be technical, some of them will have no idea what a vote means. They know there's a vote in 2020 in November, but why would someone want to vote on Theta? What is that going to do for them, or what are they going to be voting for?
Sure. So, I mean, I guess there's a very classic example at this point, at least, where it's the inflation rate of TFuel rewards. You know, we have a 5% inflation rate, which dictates how much rewards we all get paid in TFuel. Because, as I'm sure most of, you know, your guests know, that it is a dual coin system. But this would be something that could be brought up to a vote. Do we increase the inflation to 5.5? Do we lower it to 4.5? Do we help scarcity? Do we pay more? Do we let the price discovery come up to where the proper rewards would justify? So there's already, as you can tell, some heavily debated, you know, subject over that. So that would be something that potentially could be, you know, discussed.
And the community would have some input.
I'm sorry?
Oh yeah, and the community would have input, and it's not just top down.
Yes, absolutely. So you look at it almost like you're a shareholder. And I hate comparing stocks to crypto, not because you know, they both have humongously great value. It's just the decoupling, because, you know, if you're a one shareholder, you really don't get to sit down for a vote. So that's where we start seeing some of the division happen into crypto, where, you potentially hold one theta and you still have your vote. You know, you have a fraction of a theta and you have a fraction of that vote, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty empowering. You know, it really reinforces just what it is that when you invest in theta that you're getting. There's some pretty big partnerships, and you know, you potentially will be able to weigh in on outcomes of protocol changes on a platform that, you know, is sort of the central hub to everything. So it's going to be pretty exciting. I don't have too much information on when, and you know, I do know that they're actively, you know, developing it, and enough so that I can start my development end for integration on the pool.
Okay, great. You know, I want to just back up a little bit and why you or why GPooL kind of came into view for me, because I was part of the beta program, and that's where we kind of met. And as GuardianMonitor.io came out and I started to analyze some of the information, I started to analyze what my Guardian node was doing, and it certainly was not doing as well as yours. And if you want to explain to people what a little bit better background on what the 30 dMB is. Having a low 30 dMB is really good. Mine in the test net was about 4,300 as compared to when I looked at yours, it was 4. And so I know I missed a lot of TFuel, just doing what I thought was best in running my own Guardian.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So
Right,
part of
let me
building
just
that,
jump in there real quick.
sure.
Let me jump in there. George, what you're showing on the screen here, I see you've got it highlighted, is to let the audience know, is that the GPooL address?
Yes, that is the GPooL address. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's the GPooL address.
So GPooL is number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's just important to point out that that is GPooL what we're looking at there, because I see they have a 0 under the 30 dMB, which is pretty impressive compared to some of the stuff you've showed me. So anyway, I didn't mean to interject, but I just want to make sure the audience knows exactly what we've got highlighted there.
Perfect.
Sure, yeah. So this this site is just such a great resource. It's why we've decided to, you know, help support it, and you know, we have no ownership of it, and you know, we want to keep this as segregated as possible. This is something that we were trying to formulate into our schedule to build, and it's almost like how it's great that we run the pool outside of Theta Labs. It's great that they run these stats outside of us to keep us, everybody, in check and balance. So what this shows is this shows how many, so that the 30 missed blocks, and so it's 30 days missed blocks. So basically what it is how many reward blocks you've missed in 30 days. Now, if you take a look up right above our address that's highlighted, you'll see 19.1 days. Now this data has not gone the full 30 days cycle yet, because we haven't had mainnet up for 30 days. So this is still only just 19 days. This is a 19-day picture here. And we're already starting to see a couple numbers creep up here. So what this means is this means that you weren't around. Now there's, I guess, to make sure that there's 2 different types of votes. The Guardian node casts a vote, meaning they co-sign. Best way to say it is that they co-sign that all the blocks that have come forward are indeed true. So they watch the validator nodes, they make sure the validator nodes are doing their job, and they say yes or no. And they do this on a very constant basis, every 6 seconds, quicker than even that we're seeing. Anyhow, they say yes, validators are doing their job, they've made all transactions that are valid. So what we're seeing is and when you do that checkpoint, it's every 100 blocks, so it's every 10 minutes. So what you see here is that every 10 minutes, or about 144 of them per day, are potentially areas where you could miss. And we're going to see that, you see the one right underneath me, it's got a 1 next to it. And if I had to make an assumption of what that was a gentleman or a user that's running Windows, and that was an automated update.
Yep. Yeah.
And that right there shows that we have a little bit of education to still do and help out with the community. So as you can see, we have a 0. And now that user might be only running one server or one computer. We're running 7, and we have them distributed throughout the world. So if 2 of them either go down, a power outage in the East Coast, however, we're ready for however the situation presents itself, that we will make sure that we are in that block to get our reward. So you know, it's while there is a reward mechanism and there is some profits that we're all excited about making, it's important to realize that we do have a very important job, and that's network security and checks and balances.
Yeah.
And yes, that means that the more people that miss, the more rewards that get shifted to a certain group of people that are online. But it also means that we need to educate and make sure that people are running stable guardians. It's a crucial thing to make sure that it's great to see large numbers, but we need large numbers of stable guardian nodes.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
Hey, George.
Yeah.
George.
Yes.
Tell these guys you ran a guardian node, I think during the test or whatever, in your basement. Like you set up a server and did. Tell these guys what your number was, because here we have GPooL is a 0. So is that saying in 19.1 days they've missed 0 rewards? They've literally got every reward for every person that's delegated through GPooL, correct?
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I looked at things. When I compared it toward the end of the beta program, GPooL was 4, and mine was about 4,300. So I looked at what I knew. I mean, I was running it on Linux. Didn't want to do Windows because it is just a nightmare when it restarts and not knowing when, where, how. And I thought I was doing everything right. Redundant power, fiber connection, and I missed a lot, and I didn't know why. I know I had, maybe an update or restart every now and then, but it was like, why should I be spending my time and energy? And if I leave for a little bit and gone for a week on vacation, is this thing going to stay up? And that's when I decided, there's no reason that I need to run it on my own, and let GPooL handle it, because they know what they're doing. They have redundancy. I had 1 server. I thought you guys only had 4 servers. You have 7 servers going around the world.
Yes, we visually represent 4 of them, but we have 7 of them going. It takes a lot of resources to stream, and some of them don't have GUIs. So.
Okay, great. And would you,
George, let's before we move on, let's monetize your 4,300, okay? Because that's going to be important for people to really get the analysis here, okay? 4,300 misses equated to how many, in that scenario, I know it was a test bed, but in that scenario, it equated to how many TFuel that you missed.
I think,
I guess you want me to do the math real quick?
Yeah,
no?
I did the math. Yeah, go ahead and you're going to be better on the math than this.
I think your number's probably pretty close, but I didn't think you figured out it was about 40,000 TFuel, wasn't it?
No. It was about 600 TFuel, but there was a multiplier in that, because during the testing there was what you earned, and then you had a multiplier of 150%. But even 600. Oh, go ahead, Dee. You can do the calculation on that.
Well, the thing about it is that I'd have to give a generic per 10,000 that you have staked, only because it could probably give away how much you had staked.
I think I did calculation.
I could say your number is it's a little low, but it would probably be right where I would think, for, you know what I mean, for what I for what I know. But yeah, that's I have never done those numbers. That's pretty dramatic. Wow, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, and I looked at that and I was like, what was I doing wrong? And I looked at my whole setup scenario, and it was like, well, when I did background on GPooL, it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to do things that are redundant. I don't have servers and colos anymore. I don't want to go down that road because it doesn't make sense for myself. But someone else that's doing it, absolutely.
Now, and I think that a caveat to this though is to make sure that people don't think that this won't keep up like this forever, to where there might be a time down the road here where rewards are so fruitful that redundancy is not only something that people can afford without even thinking about it, but it's going to be something that they want personally, because the rewards are that large where they don't want to miss them. So we're only just starting the redundancy because I know where this is headed, and I've got a plan of phases, and I'm just checking boxes at this point. So we're already in the realm of where most will catch up here soon, from what I'm thinking.
And you're leading the way.
Correct.
Yeah, and Dee, let me ask you this: when you say the words fruitful down the road, are you talking about the speculation of the potential price of TFuel, or are we talking about the fact that actual rewards percentages can actually climb as well? Because that's something I don't know.
Sure. So I guess I won't really peg myself to a number, but exponential growth is definitely something that TFuel will have. And so more fruitful, meaning, there are some coins out there that try to adjust inflation and try to make rewards where they're comparable at this exact second. But, to be honest, the projects that allow price discovery to correlate to network security, from what I've found over the years, tends to also have the reward to its early adopters, meaning everyone that came forward. A quick example is coins that I used to mine when they weren't even paying electrical costs, and now they're helping buy a bigger house. So obviously it's a lot of rewards that do that, but I guess I'm just saying it's something that this price discovery will gradually or rapidly, depending on, because this has the element of platform support and adoption, which I guess just the quick little dynamics. When you think about Theta, Theta with its 2-coin system is quite brilliant. At first, I was a bit reserved until I really start running the models, and in the sense of how would I create the system, and then how does this one correlate or wait. Anyhow, with the dual coin system, what we have is nothing but pressure. We have the motivation to lock up Theta. Theta's job is to lock up and secure the network. Well, in a lot of POS systems, you get rewarded in that same coin. Well, so there's a inflation rate that needs to be attached to that, and then there can be downward pressure. So if people want to take profits in another coin, and the coin pays its rewards in that same coin, there's some downward pressure on the market to sell to get your profits. With a dual coin system like Theta has, you can have downward pressure for profit taking absorbed and completely taken away from Theta. So Theta really has exponential upward pressure that I can't see, except for people exiting their position. And you're going to have to take into consideration people are exiting their position and they're saying, I don't want to get 20 more years of TFuel rewards on this. So it's not that you're just selling your Theta position, you're selling all that fruit that tree would bear too. So I guess that then you have, well, now we've got a second coin with all downward pressure. Well, but then that's where the platforms come in, where they're going to then buy, because they're going to need to use that as the use case that TFuel. So Theta has a use case, and that's securing the network, and TFuel has a use case, and both have upward buy pressure capability.
Yeah, and then you've also got all the speculators who got a ton of TFuel for free, who are saying, hey, I got this free coin, it's not worth too much today, but I'm holding on to that. So now what they're doing, in essence, without getting a reward, is their TFuel is somewhat staked, right? So it's in their wallet waiting on price discovery. And I'll just tell you this, most of my viewers here know this, and I don't know if George has shared it with you, but I've got one group on Wall Street that I talk with. It's very, very, very involved intimately on the inside with Theta. And they have given me private for my group, and I'll share with you and just ask you to keep it private yourself. They've given me 2 targets on Theta Fuel, one for early 2021 of around $5. And they've given me a $60 target by 2022 on Theta Fuel. And they even went on to say to me that's probably about the most you'll ever see out of Theta Fuel, because things will stabilize as crypto stabilizes. And so anyway, take it for what you want. I don't ever take things that people tell me, no matter how close they are to a project, and go, okay, this is it, I'm stamping it in stone, this is how it has to be. But just take that for what you will, and yeah, just add it to your your notes.
Sure. I can see those prices being quite realistic. Like I said, I don't like to hold myself to numbers, but the numbers that I have seen, when you're talking about network security and how much Bitcoin and Ethereum pays their network on a daily basis, and then you compare it, there's quite a bit of growth that there is still left to be achieved. So just from that aspect, yeah, for sure, I can see those numbers.
Awesome. Carry on, George. Thank you.
We like that. And so, one thing that I think everybody needs to be aware of is that, you are not doing this, well, you are doing it for free because you're not charging me, you're not charging Jay. But what people also need to realize is that you need to be supported. So Dee, if you could just, let everybody know, I don't have really anything to do with this project. I don't have anything to do with GPooL. I'm not selling this because I'm going to get anything out of it. I just want you guys to succeed because I want to succeed. I want to run, I want to delegate, I should say, my coins on GPooL, and I want you guys to keep it as stable as possible. So I want you to sell yourself on the Patreon right now and say, why people would want to join and support you, because, and the other thing, if you care to share, is, how much, or you can give us a range or none at all, but how much does it cost you a month to keep, all the Guardians running?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, I think that a lot of people need to, I guess, like we were saying, we've got that perfect timing right now. It really just goes into, Theta has these great pillars built, and there's still that community to develop around it, which is going to hold governance and such. And, this is where it all begins. This is where me donating my time, my resources, my energy into helping build that community, rumbling. That's what this was birthed from. So with keeping with that concept, we wanted to do this in a sort of non-traditional way. We didn't want to do it, but it just had to be done in a non-traditional way, where profits wasn't something that our concern was. It was just making sure that we had our resources covered, as well as, like I've said here, helping out fund other projects that's going to make Theta that much more rock solid. So yeah, so the Patreon, we have the 3 tiers, and it's, I guess I could give you the information that says that I am still donating resources to GPooL. It's not something that it's nothing that compromises security, and it's not anything that I don't mind absorbing for still some time here. It would be a great help if the community does come out and support us through the Patreon. Takes that weight off of me and helps me free up some more capital for future development. So we just want to make sure that we're pushing Theta as far forward as we can too. They have such great dynamics, and you know, it's a different crypto than Bitcoin, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be helped by an adoption of a community like Bitcoin. And of course it can be helped that way. So that's what we're here for. That's what we got the Patreon for. That's why fees aren't something that, you know, and I think there is something interesting to note about fees too, is for delegation to happen, meaning for the general Theta holder to be able to keep their Theta in their wallet, we can't force a fee on people. So we made the decision at that moment that we wanted to keep the Theta as safe and as in everyone's hands as possible. And we knew at that moment the fee was not something that could be enforced. And it might be something down the road. And, you know, we figure that will be when we probably start seeing some competition with pools, which is going to be absolutely essential. And it'll be great to see other pools pop up. That is one of the other concerns, is that we want to make sure that people do their research and don't just haphazardly place the same kind of trust in other pools as they pop up, but rightly so, if they deserve the trust, give them the trust. And, you know, so, you know, that's why we need to make sure that we have a website that is not something that is owned or controlled by us, just that we help support it. And that's why you see that Guardian Monitor also has donations that they accept, and, you know, everything is done, you know, transparently. So it's going to be essential. You're going to need a lot of resources built out by the community that we are doing our checks and balances, and that's just part of our job and our role in our future with Theta, you know, as investors.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, I guess the big thing is when you start really looking down, and I know that for maybe some of these people or some of your viewers, my vision so far down the road might be hard to grasp. And you know, I guess the thing about it is when I look at Theta, I might be already maybe 4 years, you know, looking ahead here. It's hard to really backtrack and really think about where and what time frames I see these things. But I guess the big thing is that, you know, I think when I was sharing with you, you know, what we'll see here as the success build, you know, of the project gets built out, is potentially you'll see where your LG dishwasher and Samsung smart TV are, you know, used, you know, in a day-to-day communication with servers around the world, and you earning rewards. You know, I believe I had given you the example of, you know, you're driving your smart car, you know, and there's an accident ahead of you, and your smart car with its GPS says, okay, well, we've got 2 routes around this accident. One of them passes the grocery store, one of them doesn't. If we're going to be late, we might as well stop at the grocery store. So I'm going to go and check in the fridge and see if anything's expiring soon. Now, this is obviously some years out, but you have your smart car that, instead of having to go and utilize all these servers and so on and so forth, can jump from a Sony PlayStation to a Samsung refrigerator. And as it's jumping all the way to your refrigerator, you know, a dishwasher, you know, as it jumps, it leaves a small little fraction as it goes of a TFuel reward for you helping out, sharing your bandwidth, like an Airbnb, you know, but for your bandwidth. It just skips. And as it's skipping, it's paying its dues. So, you know, that's the vision. You know, that's the big vision of where this could all head, especially in IoT, Internet of Things, with edge caching. It's quite dramatic, and it's quite robust. It could be a self-sustaining internet, I guess, in a theory.
On that, when we were talking, that's kind of what you led to. It was, I think we're like 45 minutes in or so. I don't know if we have time in this one to talk about the vision that you see. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to come back and talk about it?
Yeah, I've got no problem going either direction.
Jay, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I think, let's take 10 or 15 minutes more. That's fine. This is not too long by any means. As you know, I can be long-winded. And maybe not so much just Dee's vision, but I think a lot of people that are not developers, when they look at a project, first of all, we know human nature is, by and large, people are lazy. I'm ambitiously lazy. That's why I'm in crypto. And, so we don't take the time necessarily to investigate all of our investments. We hear the whole world talking about it. The price is cheap. We go, oh my gosh, I'm jumping in, right? And they never really know what is the potential of a theta. And so maybe if you could speak of it from that position and put it on layman's terms where people could get an understanding. Like when people say, hey, what can you do on YouTube? Most people know what you can do on YouTube. If you asked me, hey, what could you do with Theta if Theta gets developed out the way the plan is? I really don't know. I mean, not a developer, not in touch with the core team, blah, blah, blah. I really don't know the answer to that. So maybe kind of talk about it from that perspective. We'll take another 10 or 15 minutes. And this has been great. Thank you for sharing.
For sure. Yeah, great to be here, and maybe we could discuss another one here down the road as progression goes. So we'll take a couple things that we could go a little bit more in depth in and just touch on here, so that I could expound a bit. So we have the node cachers, which is another dynamic. It's basically, I'm sure you guys have touched on it, or you can, but basically an edge cacher is just like another thing that runs on a device in your home, and it's a secure way of sharing your bandwidth with people. Yeah, there's yours there on the screen. So basically, what this does is this takes information in and it sends it out. So really, you're jumping on this person's bandwidth, this person's resources that they're allowing you to use, and they're helping share and distribute. So what this does is this helps with, not only the last mile distribution, but things that we're seeing with congestion on the internet and so on and so forth. I don't want to go too far down the inner workings of this, but let's just take this as a face value that there are edge cachers and they perform repetitive data exchange with its node caching capabilities. So with that said, what potentially you'll see here is you're going to see many people monetarily motivated to run these bandwidth sharing devices. And with that, you're technically making an Internet 2.0 in a sense. So what you'll have here is you're going to have a monetarily motivated, decentralized internet, and it's very huge to make sure that all of those elements are in place. So what we're going to potentially see here is, what you could see is somebody using an edge cacher, and I have a live stream of the Guardian nodes, and it's great for video. Yes, but what you could potentially have is you could have a static website on your edge cacher where people can click through. So you potentially could have your computer sitting there with a website that you host from your computer that people are able to click on that has nothing to do with the real internet. It's a complete separate network, decentralized and monetarily driven, to become bigger. So you can't sell a stock of the internet, but there is definitely some monetary value there to capture. So when we have something that comes along and it's in a non-negative affecting way, monetarily motivating the next wave of an internet that potentially smarter and more sustainable, it's just exponentially huge. And we could probably do a whole, hour on that. That's why, we're just going to touch on it with that,
Yeah,
so
because we don't even know what the potential is because we don't have that. And it seems like when it's built, then people can build on top, and what could come out of that is amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see the things that I'm blown away with. It's gonna be so fun. So many intelligent, smart people out there that are just gonna come and just wildly blow our minds. It's really breathtaking, to be honest with you. It's exciting, and talk about use case. I mean, I feel like a use case is a term that doesn't even satisfy what it probably will turn into here.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Theta in general. I mean, like, they are building something that has not been built. And
correct. That's been needed.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is, a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they do, that this project was birthed from a necessity on their end. So this is a real necessity that was really needed, that was created, that the solution was created, and we are all working with the solution here. We all hold the solution. This was, a company that needed this robust network to deliver what it needed to deliver. So that's where this crypto is looked at in a little different light, if you ask me, of how, its roots came to be, and why I feel like it is a perfect storm.
Yeah, well, because Theta, the parent company, Sliver TV, has been around since like 2015 or so.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that exact number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but they've been around and established, yes.
Yeah, so they were around, and Theta was birthed out of a real company instead of the, where some companies are birthed right out of the crypto that's creating it. So
right, the conceptual form. And the conceptual form of currency can be quite dramatic, for sure. It's just great to know that we've already sidestepped the conceptual part and are going straight into solution, which is just, I feel, so dramatic, which is why I feel like it would be even exponentially more advantageous for the community build out, in a sense like this, because it is just, it's such a great project, and the more involvement we can have, and the more voting on protocol, and this could be a very big crypto for the people, built with the people. That's pretty moving.
Yeah, because it's really needed in today.
Absolutely.
And just to go back a little bit, because I don't think some people realize this, I would say probably the majority of people don't realize this, but the edge node that's up on the screen right now, you don't have to have any Theta staked or delegated. I'm basically just running this on my desktop in the background, and it helps to promote the Theta network. And so I'm earning TFuel just for sharing my bandwidth and sharing my power. And this doesn't use a lot of both. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I just wanted to touch, because we're talking about the rewards too. It's imperative to keep in mind that these rewards that you're going to be you'll receive, while they're great and they'll be fruitful, they will exponentially shift with the value of TFuel. When you run a Guardian node, you're just getting paid based on that inflation rate, and that doesn't matter if TFuel goes to crazy high numbers. You're still going to get the same amount of TFuel. Your value is just going to increase. On something like an edge node, that's where there will be a dynamic shift, because you're being paid for a service. That service is sharing your bandwidth, and as the monetary influx of TFuel goes up, you probably will still you will still receive the same amount in a USD pegging, but as a TFuel, you won't. So while it is fruitful and it's going to be something essential to the network, I just want to make sure that the users understood that there will be soon a pretty dramatic difference between the two. But yes, this takes no startup anything except for a device, obviously. But they're building these into smart TVs. They showed some video examples of that, working with, you know, the companies that they are right this very second. So I think that that's going to be pretty substantial when you buy a new, say, for example, a Samsung television, and on setup, you're setting up and you're approving that your TV can be a node cacher and earn TFuel while you aren't even watching it, or while you're watching it here at first, and then soon it will be while you're not even watching it. There'll be a progression, but nonetheless, your smart TV will earn Theta for you while you're not even home. So passive income is going to be absolutely crazy. And, you know, there are some projects out there that talk about, you know, helping bank the unbanked. And I think we've heard that a lot here in crypto. And I like that Theta potentially can bring passive income to, you know,
can you share
Yeah.
the example you gave about Africa?
Yeah. You know, that's one of the visions here is, so potentially you might have an African, you know, city where potentially broadband isn't something that is very readily available, and that's what some of these crypto projects are finding, that wallets are hard to communicate with when they don't have internet. So Theta potentially could make it to where there's a small cafe in the city that is able to get internet for the first time because it can pay its internet bill on the rewards that it's earning. So you might have a self-fulfilling network where it brings internet to a vast majority of people, even on the outreaches. So it's definitely going to be an interesting dynamic to have potentially people that never were able to get on the internet, maybe even have internet that they give them for free, because they're able to pay not only their costs, but, you know, the more people that are using it, the more that they could then spin up more servers. And now all of a sudden they're making great money here, and they don't even need to charge a fee for the natives to come and use the internet. So it's quite empowering, you know, in many different facets, when you really take a step back and just see where this potential, you know, can go.
Yeah, it's the things that you don't think about that are just going to be created, and you're like, wow, I didn't see that. I couldn't see it from the angle that I was in.
Correct. Yeah, and like I said, I can't wait to see the things that blow us away here. You know, it's going to be so exciting.
It is.
For sure.
Hey D, I had a quick question. Earlier you were talking about, you know, this being kind of a 2.0 internet, and yet doesn't run on the internet at all, and of course through a decentralized network. So would I be correct to assume that, as you mentioned as a possible example, you know, someone having a website that's running on this network and yet it's not on the web at all, is that also, could I assume also that that would be kind of classified as unstoppable?
Yeah, you know, that's part of the decentralized angle to this whole element here, is that it needs to be decentralized. It needs to be open sourced, and you know, that's the direction that Theta is going as well, which is great because that intersects with the vision. It's quite breathtaking that all of this is actually planned and purposeful. So yes, that is an element that there could be. And you know, right now the edge cacher is utilizing, you know, the quote unquote internet structure that we have built in, so to say, with the backbone of delivery. But yes, that is the vision that you know, I've sort of been privy to, is that's that would be the end goal there. I mean, I wouldn't say end, but you know, the big picture.
So even though there's this short list of validators that are kind of the traditional model where, you know, they may censor out this or censor out that, and they're involved in Theta, you don't see that becoming a problem where down the road, then Theta is stuck kind of having those same companies. This is the list of 25 here, I guess, or no, I see 12.
12.
And, you know, I guess I'm trying to very politely tiptoe around that topic of, you know, having companies like Google, you know, being involved here with Theta, because I mean, you've seen a lot of, you know, I personally feel that most of the people talking on YouTube don't have a clue what they're talking about. They're certainly regurgitating the news. They're giving their opinion, and sometimes that now becomes the opinion of a certain number of populace, but that doesn't mean that it's correct or, you know, whatever. Can you speak to that a minute? You know, how you feel about that from a developer side?
Sure. Yeah. You know, that's the important thing to keep in mind is that technically Theta is almost two networks, in the sense that the validators are functioning on the payment delivery system, to pay everybody for their help in the edge caching system. So while the payment system is a very crucial end to that, there's also then, to retouch back on, the other crucial end is our vote on the protocol changes. So there will be proposals that come along that potentially we will make those decisions and help make those decisions with our votes on how the protocol changes. And you know, the way that it's structured, the validators, they produce the blocks with the rewards and go forward, and they'll carry a certain amount of weight comparable to every individual's weight that is voting as well. So that's where the community outreach and the community development comes in, is us showing what the votes are going to be, and you know, a whole slew of us check and balancing the incumbent networks.
Gotcha. Because I see even from a staking perspective, I don't know where it is, George, on this page you have up, but there's a page that shows you the percentage of the validators and the percentage of the guardians. And it looked like that it was about what, 2 to 1 or something like that, where it was yeah, right there. So you've got 155 million in the guardian and 320 in the validator. That's not going to play a role where the validators go, hey, look, you know, we're the majority and our vote, you know, is how it goes, type of thing. And
So that's
I
where
may be
it's
totally
really,
off.
well, no, that's, yeah, you're dead on. That's why it's essential that everyone takes, I'm calling it their dead Theta, but it's not that it's dead, and I don't mean to use a negative connotation towards it, but you know, their Theta that's sitting in a wallet that they're not earning rewards on, and they're not really casting their vote either. So it's essential, as you can see, that the total isn't anywhere close to even half. I mean, it's close to half. I don't want to say it's not close to half, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's only 475 million. There's quite a room to overcome their 320 million. And not as it is in a battle, because obviously we're all working in a cohesive nature right now, but to protect the future. And that's where I really see that I don't know what we're going to land on with numbers, but I really see that with resources such as GPooL, that we could potentially get that number of total staked, you know, at least 50-50, if not higher than that. We're working with 88% or 80%. I use 88% because once we have 88% locked of Theta, then we're at the tradable liquidity of Ethereum, you know, as far as what isn't locked. Not that it's locked for a dramatically long period of time, but there is a cooldown. So, you know, once you start, you know, messing with the models and seeing, wow, if we do get 88% of the circulating supply locked, then we only have, you know, that 120 out there, and Ether has 111 million. But you know what I'm saying. Once we start getting closer to some of those, liquidity or available liquidity out there, it really starts, the model starts looking quite profitable. But yes, I think that's essential, is the motivation behind everybody to make sure that they have their voice. And it just sort of goes hand in hand. The more that's locked, the more that people are participating, the more that are voting, the more secure, the more community driven the future of Theta is.
Yeah,
and the beautiful thing about, I was just going to say, the beautiful thing about the pool is that you're the guardian. Even if I take my coins out or half my coins, whatever, that guardian didn't go away. Or even if I come back later and say, I sold mine, and then when it went really low, because I'm a trader, I bought back 10 times what I had, I put them back in, and that guardian, that percentage you're talking about of getting to, goes up. We didn't actually lose the guardian. Like, the pool's always there. Is that kind of what I'm hearing technically?
Correct. And goes the other direction too. And you don't lose your Theta or anything like that depicted on what the pool does. So we're working together, but we're isolated in a sense.
And so on a technical note, somebody asked George yesterday, he gave me an answer. I just want to hear if I'm getting the same one from you. I put a fairly large amount of Theta into the pool with George's help. And if I were to go and sell that, do I need to leave 10,100 coins in there on my Guardian node, or no, I could sell them all and then come back in later with whatever I wanted?
Correct. As a matter of fact, as it works right now, that is something you withdraw the complete amount. So they're working still on partial withdrawal. So if you said, well, I want to keep 100 in there and sell, 20 Theta, obviously these numbers aren't real because you need to have 10,000 minimum, but you get what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
If you have 20,000 and you say, well, I just want to take 10,000 out, that isn't something that's a function right now. So, we do have some optimizing and so on and so forth, but, we don't need to get into that. But yes, you can exit your whole position. You will still be there waiting for when you come back. You come back and you return. That's about as simple as it gets.
Yes, it is. Thank you for clearing that up.
Sure.
That's exactly, by the way, the answer that George gave me yesterday too. So
perfect.
So this has been great, and I think we'll wrap it up here, George. We're coming up on about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. Yep.
Can't thank you enough, Dee, for coming on. I know it's a technical topic, but you really did put it in terms where I think everybody listening will be able to really understand. And I appreciate your ability to do that. Sometimes when you're talking with a developer, every word out of their mouth can go right over your head, but thank you for putting it in such good terms where, someone like myself or even the listeners here can actually understand what you're saying. Thank you for your insight.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for having me. It was great that you reached out and we could line this up.
Yeah, definitely, Dee. I really appreciate you coming on, because I know in the beginning you weren't too sure, just because this is crypto, and I'm glad you joined us tonight.
Sure, absolutely. Great. I look forward to maybe doing this again down the road.
Definitely.
Perfect. Let's do it. And Dee, you're welcome to hang around. George and I are just going to talk to the group a minute about a couple other topics, or you're welcome to pop on off, whatever you want to do there. But again, George, thank you for setting this up with Dee, and Dee, thank you for being willing to come.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.